Well, we took a week off and we went out to California and heard a bunch of stuff from Dreamy Josh Tomorrow. We're going to talk about all that tonight. Also, the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, Halloween, changes to Peter Pan, and more. All tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for August 18th. 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. We appreciate you spending your Sunday nights with us. If you have not already, go through it. Subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content. Give this video a thumbs up because it's already awesome, because we've assembled the finest group of people to talk about Disney with you tonight, starting with Stephanie. How are you, Stephanie?
Hey, howdy, hey. I'm doing great. Just back from Walt Disney World.
Where? Is that a thing? Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Desi with the flex, I bet.
Konnichiwa. Just back from Tokyo Disneyland.
And first time on the show, it's Ashton. How are you, Ashton?
Doing good, doing good. Still steaming it up here in Florida. Still hot.
Steaming it up in Florida. Yeah, that's so. No. Okay. So thank you guys for being with us. We appreciate you. Last weekend, they had a little party in Anaheim. It was the D23 Expo. And I kind of, it's one of those things where I feel like I kind of need to give an overview of what the heck happened. They've changed the name of it, first of all. And I'm still, like, when I'm hashtagging, I'm not going to hashtag D23 the ultimate Disney fan experience. Like, I'm not doing that. So it's just like everything's D23 Expo. And actually they called it Expo while we were there. So, it's one of those things where I feel like, not everybody knows what it is. I think most people know it as a place where Disney comes to showcase everything that they do. So different than San Diego Comic-Con, when you go to D23, it's all Disney and Disney's partners and their companies. It's not, random companies all put together. It's just Disney and their partners. So you still see things like Roosevelt's and Loungefly and Funko and the things that the Disney partners with, but it's also, mostly 20th Century Fox and Hulu and Fox TV and things like that they put together. And so there's a show floor, there's pandemonium. I almost got into a literal fist fight over Lorcana cards. It's just it was bad. It was. I could never even explain how bad the Lorcana situation was. But every time you hit the show floor in the morning, it was shut down. After saying all that, Stephanie, is D23 a thing you want to go to someday?
It used to be. I mean, it really did. It was one of my bucket list Disney things. And now I'm kind of like, I don't know, because everything that they come out with is, does it come to fruition fully? I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I guess so. When you say everything that they come out with, so you just look at it for the announcements, right? That's like you're all about. Yeah. Are they talking about the next movies and all that kind of stuff? The very first time I went, it was 4 days, not 3, and they broke everything down, and it wasn't crazy to get into things. Now it's pretty insane. We made all these reservations ahead of time for tickets. First of all, tickets were insane to get. Jacked up prices, but then we made all these reservations and they were like, hey, here's 3 categories, pick 4 things from each category from each day. So what is that? That's 12, 24, 36 things. They gave us 2.
Wow.
It was Meet Bluey and Bingo, which that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
That was on my list.
That was pretty cool. I did meet Bluey and Bingo. And then the other one was the Percy Jackson panel, which my wife was over the moon about because she loves the books. And it was, it was very cool to do. So Desi, same question. Like, do you want to sometime darken the doorstep of D23? And if so, will you have a helmet and pads?
Yes. In fact, I had FOMO. And I signed up for D23 after this event because I was hearing all the announcements. I saw the pictures with Bluey and Bingo and I got jealous. And so I signed up. So hopefully I can go next time. And yeah, literally the number one thing on my list when we were going to talk about what happened at D23 Expo was that I was jealous I didn't get to meet Bluey and Bingo.
Well, the funny thing is, I keep getting roasted because they have what I call, because I work in radio, activations. So like they had a Marvel activation, which was tour the TVA, which by the way the line was insane, and if you wanted to do that, that's half your day. It all looks great in on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, but when you go actually to it, you're like, okay, I have to make a decision. Do I wait 30 minutes here or do I wait 2 hours there, and what's worth my time? So they have all these activations, but I keep getting roasted by my kids. They're like, what's an activation? And I'm like, that's where somebody takes something and they make an event in a little booth area. Like, I don't know how to explain that other than it's an activation. But Desi, they had something I wanted to share with you. You ready? They had a Star Wars activation. It was the Darkade. Not an arcade. It was the Darkade.
It looks a lot like something I saw in Tokyo.
Ski ball, pop a shot, that kind of stuff. Before we move on, Ashton, do you have goals and dreams of ever going to D23, or are you just happy being a resident of Disney World?
I mean, I love Disney World. I love, because I know what to expect from the crowds here at Disney World. So D23 is a little scary to me, but I do think it would be cool to experience at least once.
Yeah,
even with the crowds.
Yeah, no, you're like crowds. I know crowds. I've been in the Tiana virtual queue. I know what crowds are. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give an overview of that, because what had happened was on the second day of the D23 Ultimate D23 Expo, on the second day, there are three huge panels. One of them is the studios panel, one of them is the Parks and Resorts panel, and the third one is the Legends panel. And they broke them out and they took them down the street. And I say down the street, it's like a 10-12 minute drive down to the Honda Center. And we had the event there, which took up so much time, but I'm glad they had a bigger place to do it. But it was at the Honda Center, and Josh D'Amaro put on quite a show. As a matter of fact, if you watch Tom's review, Tom said that it was a better performance than what the studios put up, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Now, I liked the studio panel. We did a review of it on Deep in the Plus, Patrick and I, last Wednesday, if you guys want to check it out on here, where I kind of walked through the whole thing. But definitely Josh was like, wait a minute, that's what you're doing? Hold my beer. I'm going to do this. And so they went in and they opened up with, like, there was a weird Mad Hatter Alice cover band for 15 minutes for no particular reason, playing cover songs that had nothing to do with Disney. He was probably like, stall. And then John Stamos comes out because Uncle Jesse loves Disney. And then they talk about the 70th anniversary of Disneyland that's coming up, and then they get into all of the things. And Josh, because I can call him that, he says, we're going to take this journey, and it's going to be all music cues, and it's going to carry us through this. And so they had artists. They had Abby, I think her name is Abby Carter, the American Idol winner from this past year. They had Megan Trainor. They had just like Shabuzi was there, and I'm like, oh my God, Shabuzi, and my wife's like,
I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So you would have been very impressed. All for One was there. You like All for One?
Okay.
There
I
it
love
is.
All for One.
There it is. Now we hit on it. All for One was there. Oh, Pentatonics? You like Pentatonics, don't you?
Not as much as I like All for One.
Oh God, I swear. Yeah, it was really, but I mean, again, it was really cool that they brought it out. They definitely had a budget for this kind of thing, and so they start talking about things. The first thing that happens, though, and I want to get your take on this. I'm gonna throw this to you, Stephanie, first. Is the first thing that happens is Josh is basically saying, "Hey, we're not talking blue sky. Everything that we're doing, we've already started moving dirt, putting things into place." And I actually mentioned that on ParksCenter a little while ago, asking, I think it was Patrick, like, did he think the reason they moved those trailers at Animal Kingdom was so that Josh could get on stage and say, hey, things are actually happening? But I mean, I don't want to say it was like self-deprecating, but he kind of at least acknowledged the fact that people were not happy with the whole, what is on the other side of Big Thunder?
Yeah, well, they still didn't address what's on the other side of Big Thunder. They addressed what's going to be in front of Big Thunder, but we'll get to that later. So, yeah, I think that he needed something to be able to say shovel ready projects, dirt moving, patents being filed. Like, yeah, he wanted to be able to be out there and say, we're actually going to do these things. And I understand that, but I still, if this weekend taught me anything, without going into too much detail, it's that Imagineering is very compartmentalized. And when one part, doesn't know what the other part is doing. So I don't know why they have that segmentation and they don't have more like park operations coming into the blue sky concept. I feel like that would make more sense as far as like crowd control and flow and and just honoring the memory of what has been there before or what is there now. And so I really feel like they're making some missteps, and I don't fully blame Imagineering. I kind of blame that department of the compartmentalization of the blue sky projects. And yeah, I think that they still are getting their information from AI possibly when it's coming to the concept art. And what they really need to be doing is following shows like us and other podcasts that have great ideas about what they can bring to the parks.
Okay. You know what? I have so many thoughts, but one of the things that I wanted to bring out was that you were talking about AI, and I don't know if you guys are familiar about Grok that is on Twitter, but I said to Grok, make me a picture of Abraham Lincoln and Walt Disney together because I thought it'd be cute for the show tonight. Well, it did this. I literally said, make me a picture of Walt Disney and Abraham
Yep.
Lincoln, and this is what I got. So that just goes to show you AI isn't always going to
Not
give you
quite
the
there.
right thing, is it? It's not quite there. And sometimes though, when they give us presentations, sometimes we don't see the exact final product. I mean, nothing in
Exactly.
particular that I would want to point out right now. Obviously, this
There's
was a
still
different
budget cuts
regime.
to be had.
Yeah,
And there's still
yeah,
budget cuts to
exactly.
be had.
But again, I think that Josh was definitely like in the realm of, hey, you know what? I hear you. I want you guys to understand that I do hear what you're saying about the blue sky stuff, and I want you to know that we take it very seriously. And I feel like he listens. You were talking about they need to listen to us a little bit more, but I do feel like he listens a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we need to talk about, but let's just take a second. Let's just take a second to appreciate this
Oh
gentleman.
gosh.
Yeah, here, there we go, there we go. No, he came out stunning as ever, and that was actually a picture from my seat, so I was pretty excited about that view. And then, like I said, Uncle Jesse came out and played a little piano for us. Um, and that was kind of cool. And then they talked about the anniversary. But one of the things they also did was they showed this video and he talked about horizons, and I feel like that was still a mislead because he was like, everybody, what does it mean to you, blah blah blah, and then it was like, okay, what we wanted was you to rebuild the original horizons. You going to do that? No, you're not going to do
Right.
that. Put it back where Mission Space is. Ashton is tired of going there taking pictures of, is the Earth spinning? Is it not? Is the red fixed? Is it not?
It is spinning, so that's
Yeah, exactly. Ashton, do you remember Horizons?
no. I never
No.
experienced it in my childhood. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
no.
no,
Aw.
I didn't think so. It was fun. So then they brought out Skylar, was it Skylar Aston and Darren Criss to sing a little for some strange reason. That was a little bit weird. And then they start unrolling all of the announcements. And the first one they talked about was this Avatar land that back and forth on different calls. Bob Iger went, it's a land, it's an experience, it's not a land. What is it? And I mean, when I look at this, I think that looks pretty impressive. I don't know, Ashton, when you look at this, do you think this looks pretty cool, or do you think you're not telling me anything here? Or once you heard about the ride system maybe being like the Shanghai Pirates, were you like, why didn't we get that instead of Navi River?
Absolutely. I was upset that we weren't getting that special new edition, but I do think just from looking at the picture, it looks really expansive, which is something Disneyland could use some more some more expansive space for crowd capacity, which I think they're really focused on D23 this year, was expanding crowd capacity in all of the lands that they have introduced these projects in.
Yep. So you'll have to go to California. Sorry. That's where you're gonna have to go in God knows how many years. Before we go any further, I do want to acknowledge a couple of super chats, and thank you guys for being in the chat and talking with us and super chatting or talking to each other or whatever. But the first one, I don't know if Desi is qualified to do the Shannon dance. Is that something that you can do?
No.
I don't know.
I'm here for the balloons, confetti.
So our friend Jungle Cruiser said, let me tell you one thing. We'll go full Rambo if anyone touches Disneyland's Rivers of America, Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer, and the Columbia. No ride or land is worth sacrificing this area. We're going to get to that because I know, I agree. I mean, but it's one of those things where I think the question I'm going to ask is anything sacred? And so think about that, and we'll get to that in a second. We also had one other one, but because I want to make sure everybody gets the full treatment, I want to make sure we do the. I mean, you're not going to dance. More fireworks, maybe, if that's possible. Can you do that? This one's from WDW Mickey. The Mad Hatter Band, I heard, was from a DCA show. Probably the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, yeah. But, I mean, when they came out, I wasn't really sure. But, again, thank you for the super chat. They came out, and they looked great. And it was like they called each other Alice and Hatter and all that kind of thing. But they played, like, PYT from Michael Jackson. Did not have that on my D23 bingo card, that was going to happen at all. Yeah. So it's like, at least they're going to play the hits. Let's Go Crazy from Prince, which I never mind hearing a Prince song. But anyway, thank you all for the super chats. We appreciate it. So the thing about the Avatar Land is that they said it's going to DCA. They didn't have a time frame for it, but I think some of the people have already guessed. Just like we've started guessing on the East Coast, the people on the West Coast are like, where is this going? Most people are seeing Hollywood Backlot, where the Monsters, Inc. attraction is. There's a lot of wasted space back there. Plus, there's a conversation about redoing the Eastern parking deck project that was canceled from Anaheim a few years back, where they bought a hotel called the Carousel Inn. They were going to demolish it, make a big pathway, and then behind it they own parking, and so build a big parking deck there and get rid of the existing kind of bus loops that are between Disneyland and DCA, so they have more space to build there. But also, Disneyland Forward is a project where they begged and pleaded and bartered and bribed Anaheim to finally agree to let them expand their property. And there is a conversation about maybe this new land will be part of Disneyland Forward, which will put it on the other end, down by the hotels, but on the other end of DCA. Because they also talked about something else that I was pretty darn excited about, is this Coco ride. Like, we've kind of talked about the Grand Fiesta Tour maybe becoming a Coco thing. This looks like a full-fledged, huge, supersized Pirates of the Caribbean type attraction. And again, my first thought was, where does this go? Sources are like saying, because it would make perfect sense at Pixar Pier, that there's that Pixar, like that grandstand thing that looks like it's an entrance to something, and maybe you would do a tunnel underneath the Incredicoaster and out to the back there. But Desi, would you want them to get rid of Grand Fiesta Tour and build something like this? Is that something that you would sign off on?
No, I wouldn't sign off on that. I love the Grand Fiesta Tour, but that looks awesome. And if it gives California something different and give people an excuse to go out there and have something different here, then I'm all for that. I'm all for them having a different Avatar Land. So yeah, I'm fine with it not coming here, because I would rather keep my Donald, Jose and Panchito.
Donde está Donald? Yeah. And Ashton, we're hearing a lot of people say you're being really quiet, but I think part of that is you're just very quiet. So just lean in and scream if you need to, because I'm going to throw this next one to you, because the nighttime parade coming to Disney World, to Magic Kingdom, there's a nighttime parade coming. Our friend Jake is in the chat, and when I asked him what is the thing you're most excited about, that was the first thing. He was like, the nighttime parade coming to Magic Kingdom, and I'm like, Really? I mean, oh, Stephanie's into it too, but Ashton, are you down for that?
I'm super excited to have a new nighttime parade here at Disney World. It's a long time coming. I was a huge fan of the Electric Light Parade. I actually worked costuming in my first college program on the Electric Light Parade, so it has a place in my heart for sure, but it's time for an upgrade, and having something is certainly better than having nothing. So I think it'll bring new life to the park that we certainly need.
Very cool. And Stephanie, because you look like you wanted to say something.
Yes, I mean, I've structured, this is a summer of Olympics, so I've structured all the announcements based off of the different medals, and this was my gold medal winner, Starlight, the new parade coming. I think it's time, absolutely. It's been almost, what, 10 years since we've had something like this, and as a former CM, I would loved Spectra Magic. I was part of Spectra Magic, and I'm so glad that they're bringing something back.
Well, and Paint the Night has been a rumor for so long and didn't get mentioned. Like, again, we have a section here where we're going to talk about what didn't get mentioned. Paint the Night did not get mentioned, so that was one. Oh, boy, you know what? I'm going to mess with Desi. We're going to throw this one to Desi first. The Walt Disney animatronic is coming, and this was one of those things where I feel like Josh knew this was one of those things that may not sit well with everyone, because he was like, now, we have one of Walt's relatives in the audience, and he made him stand up, and it was like a nephew, and he's like,
great nephew.
Right, great, right, not even close, right? And he's like, he says it's okay, and it's like, okay, you knew you were going to get called out tonight, and you're wearing a t-shirt and jeans, so,
Right.
but you know, this is one of those things where you know, and Tom talked about this on News Today, and he's saying he's looking forward to seeing it. They're going to use, we've learned since then, they're going to use actual archive audio. They're going to project a twinkle in his eye. But I mean, is this cool, Desi, or is this a little too uncanny valley? Like, where's your mind on this one?
I think it's cool. Did anyone ask Abraham Lincoln's great nephew if it was okay to use his likeness when they made that audio
They did, and
animatronic?
he was not happy about it.
I mean, I think it's cool. I would love to see a Walt audio animatronic, and I think, you know, a lot of people who are big Walt fans would love it as well. You know, I can understand why some people might think it's weird or creepy, but how is it any less weird or any more weird and creepy than all of the presidents having their own animatronics? Those are all real people too. I mean, nobody asked George Washington's great great nephew about it either.
No, they did.
Can I say I think that's because we're so close, because he still has a granddaughter living and she's not happy about it, right? Did an article about that, right, Ashton? I mean, so I feel like if you were maybe at the 100-year celebration and you're bringing this out, then we'd feel differently because you're further removed. But this is the 70th.
I think it's a passion project, so I think it's kind of sad that the family isn't supporting it, because I don't think the Imagineers have ever done anything to warrant that kind of feeling. Like, he's not going to say anything that they don't already have on record. They have all those files too, so I don't think they have anything to worry about.
That's a good point. Like, they can't make him say anything that he didn't already say, although they could, like, chop it together. Did you guys ever see the movie Sneakers? No one here saw Sneakers but me. No one here saw Sneakers but me. But they took the guy's voice and they made him say a bunch of things, and they patched it together in a way that was awful. But, you know, again, Grok AI, we can fix it. So, you know, I think it's ironic that, you know, we're talking about the SAG like strike was about AI and replacing people with machines, and we're doing that here. But at the same time, I agree, it's not really any different. And because Walt loved, you know, audio animatronics, why wouldn't he be okay with that? I guess only because he probably seemed like he wasn't the kind of guy that wanted, you know, on the one hand, he didn't want Walt Disney World named after him, but on the same time, he called it Disneyland. So I don't know. Anyway, let me catch up on a couple of super chats here. And again, thank you guys for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about tonight. But the first one is Fire Chief is in chat and says, just confirming, Rob, that you are that you are live and we can see you tonight. Fun story. On Wednesday night, Patrick and I did Deep in the Plus and talked for 30 minutes before we realized we were not live. But God bless him, he rolled it back, and we acted like we had never said those things before. So it was fantastic.
And
so
everyone who tuned out, I want you to know that Patrick said that he liked Toy Story 4, and you didn't miss anything by not seeing that episode then.
yeah, exactly. This one is from Dave's Bell schedule. It says, we met Ashton at Magic Kingdom on our last trip. Can you give a show and tell of her props behind you? I mean, do you want to, I tell you what, why don't you pick like one to talk about if you want to real quick. And talk loud.
I'm going to choose the least relevant on here, probably the least cool of the things. This is a McDonald's toy that I got off eBay.
Oh,
it's Rufus.
Okay. It's Rufus.
From Kim Possible. You know, the naked mole rat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yep. Love that. Thank you so much for that super chat. We appreciate it. And then we've got another one from Troy McDonald that just says smiley face with sunglasses on. And, right back at you, Troy. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. We appreciate it. Yeah, and you know what, Ashton, we'll just have to have you on a bunch more times. And then each time you can go through one item in your background, and that'll keep people coming back. I think that'll be fun.
Change it out,
yeah, that'll be good stuff. All right, so the Walt thing is going to rotate with great moments with Mr. Lincoln, which is weird to me. Like, I guess it'll be rotating stage. It seems a little different than switching out the film Impressions de France versus like the Beauty and the Beast sing along. But, I mean, if it's a rotating stage, that does make sense. But the lobby currently, and right now it's down, but the lobby was basically themed around, Lincoln and history. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. Another announcement that was made for Paris. And normally we don't talk a lot about Paris or Bruno, but the Lion King land, are you freaking kidding me? The Lion King land, we have an animal park. Yeah. And they went, you know what Paris needs at their World Adventure Park, Disney Adventure Park, is a Lion King land. And the concept art, and again, is a little weird because it looks like the quote live action version, but it's actually as according to Josh, and I love the way he said that, it is based on the animated movie and follows Simba from cub to king. I was like, wow, that just writes itself there. That is beautiful. So 1994, Ashton, were you around when that came out?
I was born.
Okay.
So
all right.
I was
Cool.
around.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I just didn't know if you thought that that Billy Eichner was the original Timon or not. Like, I don't know.
Oh, God.
Okay. All right. Cool.
It's Billy on the street.
Yeah, Billy on the street. Yeah. So then they do this whole thing about Indiana Jones, and they like play the music because, again, Josh says the music's going to take us, and they play it, and we get into the tropical Americas, which I think a lot of people are definitely interested into it. This is something we knew was happening. We knew they were going to talk about it, but they did get into more detail about it. So the tropical Americas is taking over what is currently Dinoland USA. Josh said, and again, he said I could call him that we're going to have plenty of time to say goodbye to this stuff, because when they said goodbye to, that's the crazy thing, and Stephanie, I'll throw this part to you. The crazy thing about all these announcements is that we're excited about them until you're drinking the Kool-Aid and you're like, rah, rah, and then you're like, wait a minute, where's this going?
Right. Yeah, and also it's closing next week. So hurry up and come if you can, and don't, get your airline tickets and everything like that, because it's the last time you're going to be able to ride the Great Movie Ride. So yeah, I'm happy that he's going to give us a little bit of time to say goodbye to these, but yeah.
Ashton, since you are a reporter for WDWNT, do they make you go every day to check all of these things out to see if they still exist?
Yeah, every day we're in the park. If it's not me, it's somebody else checking in. And rest assured, every tree that is removed, we have on record somewhere. So we are on top of it. We are.
Are you excited for the Tropical Americas?
I am cautiously optimistic. I think it could be really, really cool. But again, we talked about budget cuts earlier. I think this could be potentially one of those situations where, like Galaxy's Edge had a lot of budget cuts in the end. So I'm hoping not, but I could definitely see that being one of those projects.
Wait, what we got wasn't exactly what we were promised? That's crazy.
Oh.
Now, again, that was, we can blame all that on Bobby C, though, because there were several saviors walking around D23: Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, and Josh D'Amaro, and we're all being loved by the crowds. So maybe there's a chance that this regime will be better to us. But one of the things I was happy to hear is that the Indiana Jones is not going to be the refit of the one in California. It's actually going to be something that might possibly fit in Dinoland. Desi, are your boys going to be devastated about Dinoland?
I mean, they love Triceratops spin, so they'll probably be pretty upset about it. But they also love Indiana Jones. I mean, my younger son had an Indiana Jones themed birthday party this year. So, I mean, they're going to be happy either way. I assume by the time that is built that they will be tall enough to ride it. They were not tall enough to ride the Indiana Jones ride in Tokyo. They were very upset about it. So hopefully by the time this is built, they'll be tall enough to ride.
Are they going to be very excited to go visit Pueblo Esperanza?
Probably. They're fine with that movie. I mean, they mostly just like the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one. Is that a new thing, or?
We're just not going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I put Indiana Jones down as a silver medalist and the carousel as the bronze, because I feel like that's just more IP coming in a kitschy kind of way. But I really do think the Casita ride is going to be, that I think is beautiful, and I think it's great for little kids, but it's all Disney IP. It's not like, original animals or something to that area, indigenous to that area kind of thing. And then I feel like the Casita ride is my gold medal winner on this one, because I think that it's going to be fun. It's something that you can take little kids to, Desi. You and I, can sit in the same car with our kids and ride through their little dark ride. And it might be more like Mystic Manor and how everything's coming to life as you go through it. So I think that's pretty cool.
You know what I will say about that carousel is I kind of love the angle that they're taking with it, is that a Pueblo Esperanza wood carver made this thing, and they had one of them on display at the pavilion, which is Kevin from Up, and it looks hand carved. And I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying about the about it. It's all Disney IP. It's like Ka is in there, I think, and Timon, right. And it's definitely. But I think it's sort of a little understated the way it is. Again, what would have been a really good solve for this is let's not put Casita in there. Let's put the Lion King land there. Like I fixed it.
That
like,
wouldn't have fit in Tropical Americas, though.
I don't.
You would have had to put. That would have. They'd have to take out Club 33, and they aren't willing to do that.
And nobody wants that. Yeah. I agree with you, though. Like, my wife is insanely excited about the Encanto attraction, and here's the model that they have of the outside of Casita. Yes. And, again, she's very excited about this. The one thing that I found funny about this, if I can rib him a little bit about this, is that when they came out with the fact last Expo that we were going to get Encanto and we were going to get Indiana Jones, Tom had me recreate the logo for Animal Kingdom to have like an Indy with a whip and like a Mirabelle on it, because of how ridiculous it is. And I think that after he's seen this, he says, no, I like the way that it fits in. Which again, it seems like it's almost that stretch of the Xandar Pavilion of, Star-Lord visited there once upon a time. But again, I don't know.
Well, I will say that I've been to Chichen Itza, and I feel like there's enough human sacrifice there that this is the closest we're coming to Indiana Jones. The second movie with the beating heart pulling from the chest. So.
Happy hot. Yeah. So here, but look at the show building. Like, I assume that this is representative of the show building behind it. Like, that's pretty significant. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about a dark ride. It will depend though, like is it canon to like the movie itself, or is it like post the movie? I think that what he said was that it was like leading up to when Antonio gets his gift, and then we end up in his room, and Casita has enchanted the furniture to carry us through. And so yeah, I'm excited about that one. Again, would the Moana water ride have been a little bit better here maybe, or would the Lion King? I get that it's not Africa. I'm sorry. It's going to take a lot to drag me away from you. That's Africa humor. So again, there were a lot of big announcements, but let's talk about Cars Land-ish. I've heard people call it Cars Land, but it's not Cars Land because Josh was very clear that this somehow is part of Frontierland. Here's the thing, and Ashton, I want to ask you this seriously because I feel like when the Marionette Show was rumored to be taking the place of Country Bears, and you may be an old soul when it comes to Disney, but there were a lot of like people that I know outside of this Disney madness bubble that we have that were like, yeah, I love Toy Story. Let's have more Toy Story. What are the Bears even doing? Are you like, yeah, let's bulldoze Rivers of America and put some Mater in there? Are you down?
I mean, I don't want to sound that excited about getting rid of Rivers of America. I do like Tom Sawyer Island. I will say there is some like horror memories as a child getting lost in the cave in there, so I'm not totally mad about it going. But no, I think it's good. I think it'll be really fun around the holidays too. We've seen in Disneyland how they decorate for Halloween and Christmas for cars, so I think a little bit of that would be good for the kids in Magic Kingdom. I don't think there's enough for them.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, they have released, because again, this is what I was talking about, Stephanie, like they announced, hey, 2 new Cars attractions are coming to Magic Kingdom. Okay. Desi's like, let's pack the bags. Let's go. But then they released the fact that we thought it was going to be on the backside of Big Thunder because Josh had rumored that, but they were like, hey, we got this big river. Not the musical Big River, but we have this big river, and we've already gotten rid of the Mike Fink keel boats. We've already gotten rid of the canoes. All we have left are the rafts and this insurance nightmare called Tom Sawyer Island. And then we have the riverboat that nobody goes on unless you're a park reporter trying to look over a fence. So again, that's one of those things where like I love that it's there, and kinetically. And Desi, I'll ask you this one. Kinetically, it's visually beautiful, but I always pass by it and I don't get on the riverboat. And do kids go, Mommy, can I ride the riverboat?
No, but it is a good place to keep the kids in the stroller and let them take a nap while Mommy just rests for a little bit. The last time I remember like actively like, yes, I need to get on the riverboat was when Tiana had her showboat Jubilee, and that was so much fun. Like, why not? You have a Tiana ride now. Why not turn the showboat into another Tiana type attraction, like another meet and greet with Tiana, or sell beignets out of it or something? It seems sad to just get rid of it completely.
Let's curb it and sell beignets off of it.
Yes.
It's better than not having it at all.
I agree.
I mean, but again, as Jungle Cruiser said earlier, and I've heard other people from Disneyland say this, like, it's unfathomable, you get it, that you can't make, that you would take the Rivers of America, because it's also called Rivers of America at Disneyland, that you would fill that in, because there still has the sailing ship Columbia and the canoes when it's open and all of that, so they still have more activity, and they do Fantasmic right there, so that's a bigger deal to them, I think, than it is necessarily here. But again, there's something to be said for kinetic energy. I feel that when I go through Cars Land the way it is, so I don't know if we're not getting Cars Land. We're getting 2 attractions that are embedded into Frontierland. So, that's feels a little bit different. But let me ask you this, and I'll throw this to you again, Stephanie. Is anything at this point, because I saw somebody on X say, what if they got rid of the Matterhorn? Because apparently it's being held with duct tape and glue. because and that by today's building standards, you couldn't get permits to build a structure like that in as small a space as it's in. Is anything sacred to the point where it could never be removed? R.I.P. movie ride.
Yeah, so this is my mini rant, I guess, if we're going to go here. But as well, so many of us are former CMs, we have to go through a program called Traditions where we learn about the company. I don't know of any other massive company that makes you do that. I mean, I've never been a part of any other massive company that makes you do that prior to joining, because there is so much innovation, there is so much history that goes into this, and there is so much show, and that's part of it too, is knowing your past for what you're trying to portray out there in the park as you're a cast member. And so I feel like right now, and this is just my personal opinion, not that of WDW&T's, but I feel like there's not really a sense of tradition. They in fact have stopped doing that class, unfortunately, and I think that is where they're going wrong. Yes, they have stopped doing for their new cast, at least the extended version that we got. Yes.
Oh.
So what I will say about this, Rob, is that they marketed it wrong. They said Beyond Big Thunder. It's not beyond, it's in front of, like I said before. They're taking out kinetic energy. I'm from Louisiana. I'm telling you right now, people come to New Orleans and ride the paddle boats, the river boats. That's what they're there for. They make a lot of money on this. You can absolutely sell beignets. Desi took the words right out of my mouth. Bring Tiana back in her beautiful dress. Upcharge me. People will do it. It goes along with the Bayou Adventure. Cut Rivers of America in half. Cut out the back part of the fort if you want to. Utilize that space, but you have about 16 acres of unutilized space right now. And by the way, Galaxy's Edge is about 4. So that tells you exactly how much land they have beyond Big Thunder. Now, maybe it's a logistical issue trying to build bridges and get over to it. I don't know. But I really feel like they are selling themselves short. They're going to be literally, as other people have said, paving paradise and putting up a parking lot, because there will be cars driving over and making noises of that nature around Haunted Mansion instead of the beautiful waterways and things like this. So yeah, I actually disqualified this when I first heard about it, and I think it was really a curse word that they did not announce. They waited until after D23 was over, and then they announced the closure of Rivers of America. And they did that because they knew there was going to be a big backlash.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly. But again, that's one of those things where we're like, we have the blessing of size in Florida. I feel like Walt said that. I feel like a lot of people have said that. But yet, we don't really build new, we just replace. Like, this was going to be the biggest, again, talking, it's like a second thing. If we go into like the thought process of expansion, this is an expansion, it's replacement. And if it was Big Thunder, it's the biggest expansion that we've ever done. When you think of Fantasyland Forest was an expansion, but it replaced things like the 100-acre wood playground and the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and things like that. So Galaxy's Edge was an expansion, but we lost Lights, Motors, Action, and the Streets of America. Like, so it feels like you should be able to build this somewhere else and have space. I know you don't have it in Disneyland, but at Disney World, we have the blessing of size, so it feels like it shouldn't necessarily go over top of it. I also don't really understand what kind of ride this is. For a second, I got really mad, and I thought it was a go-kart ride. But, it's got, like, room for 6 people in it, so, I don't think that that's what it is.
I think it's going to be a faster ride, and, the franchise Planes did not take off very well, so to speak. But I did like that. I do like Planes, too. If anybody has ever seen that, they go into...
Rescue.
Yes, Fire and Rescue. It's a wonderful movie about how these people actually, cars, but how they actually go into these places, these dangerous places, and put out these forest fires. And my son loved it. It was his absolute favorite movie. And we would watch, and it's about Yosemite or Yellowstone. It's one of these national park kind of places. And this kind of plays into that, right? I think that's where they're drawing that IP from, because it looks more like that. Design wise, but I again don't see how that fits in the center. I can see it behind Big Thunder, beyond Big Thunder.
Okay. All right. So because I'm trying to move through these, let's talk about this one. Monstropolis. Now, again, this was one that I feel like we knew there was going to be a Monsters, Inc. thing coming. It's coming to Hollywood Studios. And immediately I was hearing from people, well, there goes Muppets. And we had just talked the week before about Muppets was on the, like, the people were trying to make it a historic, you know, a piece of history because of it being, you know, because of it being the last thing that Jim Henson ever worked on. We don't see it in Disneyland anymore. It's gone. And so, you know, the thought process was that on the back end of that artwork, it looks like Grand Avenue, and therefore this might be, you know, this might be coming here. My initial thought before people started saying Muppets was this should go in Animation Courtyard, because Animation Courtyard is desolate. And when you get back in there, I mean, again, Ashton, I'll throw this to you. Is there anything worth saving? I know you're probably a big Disney Junior Dance Party fan, but is there anything worth saving back in there that you wouldn't put this there?
I mean, honestly, I'm of the camp that it's not replacing Muppets at all. It's definitely going into Animation Courtyard. How far it's going into Animation Courtyard, I'm not sure. But I do think The Little Mermaid, and I do think, you know, Disney Junior is worth saving. I think Launch Bay back is where they should expand Monstropolis. That's my personal opinion, though.
Yeah.
And it would increase park capacity, so more people in studios is good.
How about that? But there was one thing that I saw online, and I was looking for it earlier. I couldn't find it. Somebody outlined what it would look like sitting back where Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy and Rock and Roller Coaster is, because it's an indoor coaster. You have a building there with an IP that may be borderline problematic that we haven't changed. And so you could empty out that building and put it back in there and have it kind of like shoved out to the side where you could sort of have it partitioned off on its own to be Monstropolis. So like that could be a thing too, maybe. And then, but again, I still feel like you still have a huge waste of space where Animation Courtyard is, because we haven't seen those shops open since COVID. We haven't seen the Little Mermaid show, which, and again, another thing they didn't mention is the Little Mermaid show. But they did talk about this Monsters Inc. Coaster, where you're literally going to get picked up like the Doors and thrown through this this Monsters Inc. Area. I know it's past your bedtime, Desi, but are you excited about this, or is the first thing you're thinking of as a parent, are my kids going to be tall enough for it? Because it'll probably be out in about 7 years. They should be tall enough for it then, I would think.
By then, hopefully, yeah. As somebody with preschool kids, no, I don't care about Disney Junior Dance Party. Get rid of that.
You're done with that.
I think wall it off where, you know, the Little Mermaid exits, and maybe I'd have to like look at a map to try to figure this out. Maybe make it some kind of Pixar area where Monsters Inc. bleeds into Toy Story somehow, and then have the entrance that way. I mean, Pixar Place has brick. If we're talking about, oh, they must be getting rid of Muppets because there's brick in the concept art. Well, there's brick in that like weird Pixar alley near Toy Story Land. So I don't know. I'd have to look at a map to really figure this out. But I have no attachment to Disney Junior Dance Party.
Can we get a cartographer in here? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so what one of the things, though, and I'm going to stop for a second and do some super chats again. Thank you guys so much for being engaged with us tonight. We appreciate you. I know we're kind of like droning on and on about this, but I think this is important enough to kind of cover all these things. So we do have another super chat. It is from Jungle Cruiser. The first thing Jungle Cruiser says, I'm gearing up for a big plastic run of 2024. Saturday will literally be spent buying the Halloween collection. Does anyone on the panel need anything? Desi, like the bucket behind you? He likes the bucket behind you. I guess the one that you got from Tokyo. And then Jungle Cruiser says, take those words back now, Rob. WDW fans need to grow a spine. How do cars fit in the Old West? And I think that is reference to the whole filling in the rivers of America. Honestly, and thank you, Jungle Cruiser. Appreciate you so much. The kinetic energy, and I use that a lot. And again, just like activations get roasted from my family, but the kinetic energy of the Skyliner, I feel like has changed a lot of the vibe of some of those, of driving around Disney. I think it's very cool. I like it. I think there is a kinetic energy to you're walking down through Liberty Square, and here comes the riverboat, and you can see across the water the rafts going across. But again, my wife as an educator goes, why would you put little children running free, Ashton, obviously, on Tom Sawyer Island? And what an insurance nightmare that would be. And it's one of the few big playgrounds they have left. They got rid of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. They got rid of, a lot of those play areas that they used to have for little kids.
They're about to get rid of the boneyard.
Right.
Yes, they are.
Exactly.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I want a lot of footage of like social video of Ashton hanging out in the boneyard, just like digging, and maybe putting some of the sand in your pockets and taking it with you.
Put that in the universe.
That'd be great.
Rob. Don't do that.
Sorry. You're like, now it's out there. Now I have to do it. Shoot. Yeah. So that's the thing. All right. So moving on though, then Josh was like, hey, let's bring out Deadpool. People like Deadpool, right? Let's bring out Deadpool. I didn't get to go over to Disney California Adventure because I was spending all my time going back and forth between the Convention Center and the Honda Center. But Deadpool came out and did a bit, and then they started talking about some of the Marvel stuff they have. And again, we can't enjoy that on the East Coast, but out across the sea, Disneyland, the Shanghai Disney, they're going to do what looks like the Incredible Hulk, but with Spider-Man. Honestly, the one that we see at Universal, they're doing a Spider-Man roller coaster at Shanghai. This one I thought was interesting. They're taking like their tower in Hong Kong and making it Doc Ock is pulling you one way and Spider-Man's pulling you the other way. Like that's neat. I kind of dig that. Mm-hmm. I do want there still to be a Tower of Terror. I like that it's in Hollywood Studios, but I like the idea of them making each of them a little bit different. But I do get a little jealous about this stuff. Then they were like, hey, we're going to make Avengers Campus bigger. And they had a ride vehicle for this new Infinity Defense attraction that looks like the Spider-Man attraction that everybody wanted Web Slingers to be. Ironic that would be the thing. But this is the King Thanos attraction that they announced way back when we had the last D23 Expo in 2022. One of the things that they, again, there was a lot of concept art showing the vehicles, and this is a multiverse experience, and they're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to do the actual, like, if you go do Web Slingers, Tom Holland does the video. If you do anything that has Iron Man, it's the guy who does the Iron Man cartoon voice and not Robert Downey Jr. However, Ashton, I don't know if you follow entertainment enough. Didn't Robert Downey Jr. at some point say he hated his Marvel experience, and now he's Dr. Doom and he's going to be in the parks?
That sounds right, but
I think it was around the time he got an Oscar. That's exactly like with Oppenheimer. I feel like he went, you know what? I don't really like you guys anymore, even though Iron Man saved my career. But he's going to be doing Iron Man, and here's a picture of him. Definitely doesn't look like he's being held against his will next to Bob Iger riding this attraction. And this looks kind of like an off-the-shelf. Do you guys remember at Epcot there was something called Interventions? Kids, look it up. Some of All Fears, right?
I thought of. Yes.
Did you ever do that one, Desi?
Of course I did. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this was, oh, we're bringing the Sum of All Fears back. I mean, I enjoyed it back when it was around. So yeah, let's go.
I liked this movie. The first time I saw it was called Sum of All Fears. And it was shoved into Interventions behind the Where's the Fire or the Storm one or the Habit Heroes. Yeah. So basically this thing is supposed to be it's called the Stark Flight Lab, and this is going to be a fourth attraction, which I think we didn't know was coming. And so it looks like there's sissy stationary seats on the ground, which I'll be in those. And then the jerk you around until your guts come out off of the was it Kuko arms off of that. So I don't know. That may be why RDJ had that look on his face. He was like, "What did I just do? That's not a good idea." But you know what? If Bob can do it, I can do it. That's how that works out. So they talked about a lot of Fortnite things. We're gonna skip that. But one of the things they talked about, Desi, was reskinning or adding a mission to Smuggler's Run with Grogu and the Mandalorian. And I think this technology has been there before, but doesn't it feel like that they should have done this a while ago? I don't know.
I'm guessing that they didn't do it previously because they had to keep the timeline intact. And while Grogu might still be a child by the time of the sequels, Mando would be pretty old. I mean, what is he, 45, 50-ish already? And that's supposed to be like 5 years past Return of the Jedi. So I don't know. I don't know how it fits into the timeline. Also, I don't get why they would be interacting with the Millennium Falcon. And I want to know if Hondo is going away. I will be so sad if they get rid of the Hondo animatronic.
Well, I mean,
Hondo, but I am excited for anything Grogu. So anything Grogu, sign me up. I'm just confused how it fits in.
Hondo breaks a lot. I don't know if you know that or not. I've seen a lot of B-mode Hondo.
I love Hondo.
I do too, but it's one of those things kind of like we were talking about with Walton and the rotation between the two, like of Walt and Abraham Lincoln is like, if they're doing this rotation, how do we, how do you theme the pre-show? Because again, if it's Hondo, has Hondo Anaka been around as long as as Mando? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Here's a look at now. Let me just say that last year, let me back up a second. When all this stuff came out, Josh gave us a timeline. He gave us this beautiful looking timeline that said, hey, it's 2022. Here's the things you're getting in 2022. You're getting Avengers Campus. You're getting Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind. You're getting all these. And in 2023, Runaway Railway's coming to Disneyland, and Tron Light Cycle Run's opening up. And most of these things did happen. I think Catino's not open at this point, and we still have we're going to talk about Bayou Adventure in a minute. But most of the stuff ended up happening. He didn't give us this timeline, but he gave us this big screen full of like images of things that were happening. And said, hey, this is all coming, in the next 5 years or so. I want to finish out this part of it and ask you guys individually, what is the one thing, and we'll go around clockwise starting with Stephanie, what is the one thing that came out of this you are the most excited about in a good way, not like upset about because of Rivers America?
Right. No, my one thing is going to be the Starlight, the Magic Kingdom parade at night. Like I said, it's been almost 10 years, right? And we haven't had that. And I think that is what separates Disney from any other theme park you go to. Dollywood has gotten all these awards and this kind of thing. And, whatever out in California. But yeah, I feel like this is what separates Disney, is these nighttime parades. You could go to any kind of daytime parade, 4th of July in your hometown, but Disney with their, music, and then the entertainment pieces, and then the lights. And like in Spectro, I hope that they bring back the colored lights that with the music change into all the white lights. I think that was really something unexpected and fun that people loved. So yeah, that's my number one.
Okay, Ashton, what's your number one?
My number one is the Villains Land that was announced. It's a little bit away, but I think it's a really good call to Epic Universe too. Like it's a good answer to that.
Good answer. Desi?
It is a good answer, and Ashton stole my answer because I was also going to say Villains Land. And I think that the reason that Cars is not beyond Big Thunder is because Villains Land is going to be beyond Big Thunder. I don't know how much space it's going to take up, but I assume that it will connect somehow between Big Thunder and Haunted Mansion on the backside of what is now Tom Sawyer Island and will be the Cars attractions. So I hope that means that there's a lot coming. They didn't give us a lot of detail on it, but it's still super exciting for me. I'm interested to see what comes of it.
And the Villains thing was something he announced at D23 2022, back when it was called Expo. and back when it was a Blue Sky idea and it was on the other side of Big Thunder. We've apparently totally scrapped the idea of like the Coco Land idea, but they when they were talking about the Villains Land, he ended on this. And he did it with this, again, very almost like a self-deprecating, like the magic mirror came up on the screen and said, you know, oh, Josh D'Amaro, you forgot to talk about something. He's like, well, what did I forget to talk about? He goes, a land of things that are broken. And everybody's like, ah! Oh my gosh. And they show the concept art and it looks amazing. Like there's a fire breathing Maleficent. And if there is a green fire breathing, like a breathing green fire dragon that will rival the thing that's sitting in Diagon Alley up the street, that would be kind of cool. And he said there's going to be, you know, two attractions and dining, and yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. But it's obviously they didn't have time to really break out like what was going to be part of it, and so they were like, yep, and then blow the confetti and have a great day, everybody. So like Villains Land, again, I agree. I think that was the biggest takeaway for most people. And Stephanie, to your point, that's expansion if it's going back there behind Big Thunder and not going to replace it. And I feel like if it could connect all the way around somehow to Fantasyland, that would make some sort of sense.
It would make it's the antithesis of Fantasyland, right? So it's like the mirror, like you step through the mirror and you're in the Villains Land.
Like the one when I go to meet Belle. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I do go do that. I wanted to break this out separately because they talked about, and thank you guys for going a little long on that one, but again, there's a lot to cover, and I'm sure we will continue to cover that on ParksCenter for a long time to come, but we have a lot of opinions and things. Boat stuff. They talked about all the Destiny stuff the week leading up to. It was like, wait a minute, is it because you had too much to talk about? No, they also wanted to talk about the fact that they're going to make 4 new ships. That's gonna, so there's one that's I guess gonna be in Asia, and then 4 brand new ones will take them up to 13 ships. Do we need that many, Stephanie?
I mean, I think that Disney Cruise Line is rocking it right now. I mean, you'd have to call Shannon and ask her because, you know, that's her jam. But yeah, I think that right now there's some people are kind of cooled on the parks. I think attendance has showed that this summer, especially at Walt Disney World. And I feel like Disney Cruise Line is just rocking it. So yeah, I guess they're hitting while the money is good, right? Everything is hot.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. Excuse me. So they brought out this graphic and they show this, and this is like, I don't want to see this coming at me because this is very scary, like this many ships. But they also talked about that there's going to be, they gave a little bit more information about the Destiny, that there's going to be a Hercules show, and then there's also going to be a show for Moana that has like this huge 15-foot puppet that looks pretty cool, the biggest one they've had on a cruise ship. So all of that stuff looks pretty cool. But again, it just goes to show like why it's called Disney Parks and Experiences, is because they're building that out hugely. If this is a weird question, Ashen, based on all the ships that have been announced, which is the one, because I don't know if you've ever been on a Disney cruise, but which is the one you would pick based on all the information you've heard about the cool stuff that's out there?
I'd probably ride the Treasure just because of all the things that it's announced. I think the bars on the Treasure sound really interesting and themed, and I'd be really into that particularly.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No,
I've never been on a
like...
cruise, so wouldn't say no to any of them. I've heard great things about Disney Cruise.
Yes, I agree. I think that the Disney Cruise Line is it's more expensive. There is no question. If you've ever been on a Carnival cruise and then you've been on a Disney cruise, there is a Disney difference, as you said earlier, Stephanie. So I'm really excited about that. The one thing that was really funny about this is after they rolled out all of this stuff from Imagineering Parks and Resorts, there is a show floor at the convention center, and the next day at the show floor they had 2 hidden rooms that they wouldn't let us into until they made their announcements on Saturday night. So you only had Sunday to go in and see the Kevin statue and the model of Pride Rock and the things that they had announced that night, and it was a brawl because they had to cut the line constantly off. I literally have joked about this with my wife, but I'm pretty sure she body checked somebody so that she could get into line so she could see Casita in person because she wanted to so much. And she says that didn't happen. It happened. That it definitely happened. So anyway, it was really one of those things where it would have been nicer. And I had talked about on our last show, hey, they're definitely going to be talking about all the new D23 stuff on Saturday or on Sunday, because that's when it usually is. The Parks and Resorts is almost always on Sunday, but this year they flipped it and the Disney Legends was on there. And I got to be in the same room with Miley Cyrus. Sorry for the flex, Ashton.
Hannah Montana, no.
I know. And Lainey Wilson, any country fans out there, Lainey Wilson was there to sing Best of Both Worlds to Miley Cyrus as she got her Legends Award. So, I mean, just saying,
Wow.
Let's talk about real quick about the things that they didn't announce, because quite honestly, that was pretty glaring to me. I made a list of things that they didn't mention. Obviously, the Figment attraction was something that was teased to us with Imagineering and Figment going into Imagineering with his little sketchbook, and that was going to be cool. Spaceship Earth was supposed to get a fixin' a long time ago. I know that they were supposed to make a Cherry Tree Lane. They canceled that. A new World Showcase Pavilion. Like, hey, how about that? We have 21 pads out there, and there's still at least 7 or so that haven't been used. I was hoping they'd say a 5th gate. That certainly is not in the cards with all of these projects happening. The Reflections Hotel, they just re-upped that permit. Like, why wouldn't you talk about that one? Desi, is there anything in particular that you wish, you think was glaringly missing from this presentation?
There is, Rob. I believe I was promised that something would happen with the Star Cruiser, and I'm still waiting to hear what that something is. I was hoping that we would find out. Is it going to come back in any way, shape, or form? Or, as the full experience, as a modified experience, as just like a dinner show and lightsaber training? I don't know. Just tell me what's happening and put me out of my misery so that I'm not just wondering and crying over the loss of this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know that Patrick would have hoped for them to be some kind of an announcement about the corn dog stand, and I know we're getting closer to that happening. They didn't mention the cake bake, but I mean, again, the cake bake shop's going to be third party. Maybe that's not a thing. The Frontierland DVC Lounge, they didn't talk about that. They didn't talk about the Play Pavilion, the Galaxy's Edge expansion that we keep hearing is a possibility. None of that stuff. Ashton, anything that you thought was glaringly missing you wish they had actually said?
One glaring thing that I remember was Bob Iger a few years ago mentioned changing Hollywood Studios' name, and they didn't even talk about that, but there's certainly no movie sets moving in, so I think that's coming eventually.
Yeah.
It's got to.
Disney Adventure World.
Yeah.
But you're right. And again, if your theory is right and they take Animation Courtyard for Monstropolis, then that's almost the nail in the coffin for anything that was creating. And I mean, it's not there's nothing still creative there, but they would take out a lot of that. The Hyperion Theater in California, I'll speak for the Californians since we're not, there was none really represented here. The Hyperion Theater had Rogers the Musical, but before that it had Frozen, but before that it had Aladdin, and it's just this huge piece sitting there. So if they decide to make Avatar Land in Hollywood backlot, that would maybe go, or else, they should announce a show for it. Play Pavilion, Disneyland's Tomorrowland. That's another one that I'm like, every time they talk about, if you've been there, it's it's charming, but it's also sort of broken. So I don't know. Stephanie, anything you wish they had talked about?
Yeah, I think that Disneyland's Tomorrowland, I think a lot of people are surprised they didn't address it at all. And I think with Avatar, I don't really see how it fits into California because the park is supposed to be Disney's California Adventure. And it would make kind of a little bit more sense because, you know, the technology of utilizing the avatars on this distant planet, why don't they put that into some sort of a portal kind of system into Tomorrowland somehow and make that on the backside of Disneyland and expand that section of Disneyland. I don't know. I'm not a cartographer either, so I have no idea.
Uh, we're getting him in. That's fine. We'll have him in. Let's talk about Bayou Country. You guys have heard about Bayou Country, haven't you?
Right.
Critter
That's where I
Country.
live.
You're like going down to Bayou is just going home for you. I get that, but
Yes.
but you know we got news again after the fact. After D23 was over, it was almost like we should have said. They did announce that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is opening in 2024, November 15th, 2024. That whole area has been a train wreck down there in Disneyland because they had to block off for the Haunted Mansion expansion of the queue and building the shop, and they had to block off for what has been Critter Country and the the gift shop there, and the Winnie the Pooh attraction's been down, and you can't get through Galaxy's Edge. That whole area, they were just like, shut it down. We're just going to keep building until we get this done, and let's get people out of here. And there's been so much shut down, and when they reopened the Haunted Mansion last time, I was like, thank goodness they're adding some capacity back. And somebody in the comments on the last show we did said, yeah, Rob, but they just closed Pirates. There is so much that they close at Disneyland. I mean, right, like Space Mountain and again Jungle Cruise and like all these things. And Jungle Cruise are shutting down, but they don't make that Jingle Cruise, so it's weird to me how that's happening. But there's some big, huge e-ticket attractions that are all closed at the same time. And Pirates was only a couple days, and then it was open back up again. So I feel vindicated there a little. But it was true that, like, you know, they did open up Haunted Mansion with like basically New York style scaffolding around it and made it virtual queue because there's not enough room to let people in. But apparently the land formerly known as Critter Country, formerly known as Bear Country, formerly known as, I think, like the Indian Village?
Indian Village.
Which we'll talk about. Anyway, is going to be called Bayou Country, which it was weird to me, Stephanie, because I thought the whole thing about putting Tiana's Bayou Adventure in Disneyland was going to be part of New Orleans Square, and we could still have Critter Country, but it seems like Bayou Country is just another word for Grand Avenue out there.
Yes, and this change is completely unnecessary. We have critters out the wazoo here. I've got raccoons eating my garbage and armadillos and digging up my flower beds. So absolute gators in the lake. You know, I mean, there's tons of critters, and I think it's really ridiculous that they even do that. It's kind of just an overshoot. Like, I feel like they're just doing it just to do it and to try to make it more cohesive, which it really doesn't need to be changed.
Yeah. The next thing is they'll change Tomorrowland to Discoveryland, and that's not happening. They do a lot of changes to names out there, and for Californians, Disneyland is the temple that, you know, it's the Church of Walt, and you don't change anything. But anything post Walt, I guess, is up for grabs. The Sun Wheel, Mickey's Fun Wheel, Pixar Pal Around. I mean, it feels like we change things a lot in that vein. So, that's the thing. So that was something they announced really quickly, was the opening of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. They put it into a little song that they did with Skylar Astin and Darren Criss. They also talked about the Tortuga, the new tavern, the Pirates Tavern, which we didn't talk about. It was opening 2025 over at, and we know this for a fact now, I was wondering if it was going to be at the old Tortuga Tavern because they have a kitchen. It would make sense. No, it's at the Pirates Lake. So that's officially a thing, that's where that's going in 2025. There's going to be an Epcot. Ashton, are you old enough to drink? I don't know. I'm just kidding. It was a joke. They're doing an Epcot lounge where the Seaman's Lounge was over by Spaceship Earth. So that's smart. They're taking a lounge that was a corporate lounge, doesn't have a corporate sponsor anymore, and making it a place where they can charge you to drink charge you a lot and give you a good spot over there, and that's coming in 2025 as well. So there are things coming in 2025. They didn't mention the mermaid attraction or the mermaid show at all when that's going to open up. So still waiting on that. But let's talk about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And this is a thing that happened at the same time. I was literally like, I'm going through the website, finding all the stories we wrote about D23 while I was out there. And then it was like story about D23, story about, Mickey's Not So Scary, story about D23, back and forth, because we were like, everybody at the blog was working on something. So did you, Stephanie, I think you probably mentioned this. Did you get a chance to go to Mickey's Not So Scary this last trip?
I did not this last trip, but I do it usually every year. I did it last year.
Yeah. Did you look into the idea of it and then just decide to opt out of it, or did it just not work out for you?
It was just the timing of things this trip. We were going to be up really, really early for certain things that we had to do. And yeah, it just wasn't going to be conducive to us staying up too late to do that. But I do love it. I think it's a good time. And especially if you are using your park tickets on other days, and then you can get in at 4 o'clock with your park ticket for Mickey's Not So Scary prior to the start of the party around 7. So you can, have a pool day and then get ready for the party and go to the park a little bit early. So I think that's a really good kind of middle of your trip break as a tip for someone coming out of town with a lot of kids. And you can kind of sleep in and then stay up late.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this, Ashton, about like covering a Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, because I know that we send like 90 reporters out to make sure that you go buy a popcorn bucket. I need you to go over there and get that and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything that you're looking at the Mickey's Not So Scary and you're like, this is the kind of stuff that we love to see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the more exciting things from this past Mickey's Not So Scary, which is currently still going on, you can actually meet the hitchhiking ghosts this year, which is really cool. Bruno's out there, also really cool. I think investing in Minnie and Mickey's costumes was a really good opportunity, because now you have to go meet them again if you have gone before, because the costumes changed, so you got to get that Instagram shot. And it's really cute, and they match. It's really cute. Couples costume.
They complement each other. Isn't that awesome?
But are they together? Are they together at the park?
No.
Can you get a picture together? Okay. Oh.
Nope, you got to meet them separate. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, we didn't mention 2025 Better Together, the Zootopia movie, whatever.
Right.
I'm just salty that they decided not to do a full Zootopia land, because again, we have an animal park. Here's a better picture of Mickey and Minnie strutting their stuff out here. That's kind of cute. But here's the thing that I think is interesting is it is sort of a dumpster fire trying to get into the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, because you have to go through the gate to get your little wristband. And now they have, this sounds so attractive for a hard ticketed event that you pay hundreds of dollars for your family, corrals that they're going to put you in. Basically like cattle. But it does make sense, because when you get out there for that event, you got people that are having to get kicked out of the park because it's 6 o'clock. You can't be there if you don't have a wristband. Then you got the people coming in that need to get wristbands. It's kind of crazy. And Desi, this is why you don't go to these parties, right? Is that why? Because you're local and you don't have to?
Basically, I just I don't want to spend the money, because I feel like I give them so much of my money year round that I'm like, do I really need to give you more money for this? I did give them my money for Jollywood. I thought that was worth it. So we'll see. But I also went to one of the later Jollywood. So maybe I would have felt differently if I went to one of the first ones.
Well, you only went to Jollywood for the photo ops, didn't you?
I went for the full experience.
This is why I'm going. I have to go, because like we talked about earlier, where Jungle Cruiser talked about earlier, they're going to be doing these. A lot of times with these popcorn buckets, they don't do both coasts. But the funny thing to me is you can go into Disneyland during Halloween time at any time during the day and buy one, but you can only get it at Disney World if you go to a Not So Scary Halloween party. So I need to pay for the hard ticketed event so I can go pay for the piece of plastic that I'm spending way too much on, and I realize it, but yet I can't stop.
You better be first in line, because there's a limited amount of them per party. That's the other
Oh,
part of
wow.
it. So
We'll talk
you asked
after
about
this, Ashton.
reporting.
Maybe if you're headed out there, I might have to ask you a favor or two to get this done.
Got you.
Yeah. And again, you know what? I love a hard ticketed party event usually, but it's like when it's an after hours event, it feels more like casual as opposed to a Mickey's Not So Scary or a Mickey's Very Merry. They just jam pack. They just jam pack people. And it's kind of like I was talking about D23. You have to decide where you're spending your time. You only have X amount of hours. Do you want to spend it getting in line to meet Mickey and then stand in another line to meet Minnie? Or do you want to stand in line to get the popcorn bucket? Or do you want to stand in line to meet you know who, because we don't talk about. Yeah, it's fine. It's all good. It's all going to be fine. Let's move on to Halloween time in general, because the other side of the country is getting ready for Halloween time at out in California and Oogie Boogie Bash. Again, I am so jealous, Stephanie. You're going to get to go out to Oogie Boogie Bash, and you've never been before, right?
Right. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for Doofenshmirtz and all the villains, and I'm most excited for that. So when you're talking about planning my day and planning my time, that's what I'm going to prioritize is the villains meet and greet and that whole area and the trick or treat trail. And then I'll maybe catch the parade, and we will be there a few days before, so we'll get to do the rides prior to that. So yeah, definitely excited about the characters for sure.
Well, and when you get out there again, Halloween time is so cool in California because they celebrate in the in Disneyland Park. They celebrate Halloween, and it's not a hard ticket event. The fireworks are included and all that. When you go to Mickey's Not So Scary, you're getting the Sanderson Sisters show and the fireworks, but you can only get them if you're part of the hard ticketed event. One of the things at Oogie Boogie Bash is it's the opposite. It's like over at California Adventure, so you get the free Halloween time if you go into Disneyland, and you get the the Oogie Boogie Bash. But the other thing they do out there, which is really cool, is they do the whole like the Day of the Dead thing, and they do they loop in Coco, and they have a whole Plaza de Familia like menu of food and a celebration and things like that, and that's awesome. It's like an additional layer that's not just Halloween. I'm excited to see all of that stuff come to fruition, and all that stuff can be found on our website. Let's move on. Peter Pan was closed for a long time over here, and then they opened it, and then it was like, uh-oh, they made a change, and I'm sure they were probably like, Ashton, did you get over there immediately and go in and see? Have you seen the figures inside there, and what do you think?
I have. I think it's an enhancement. I don't think it's a bad change. I was scared that they were going to take Tiger Lily out completely, and I was happily surprised that she was up and dancing with one of the elders. So I thought it was really well done. I don't think it took away anything. I think it enhanced it more.
Yep. And Stephanie, you were
actually a sign of what's coming. Good.
Thumbs up. Yeah. Stephanie, you were out there for this as well?
Yeah, so I saw it yesterday, and while on the whole, I agree with what Ashton's take is, but I will say that they took out Big Chief, and I feel like that's a no-go. The other thing is that they changed them. They don't reflect the movie. So are we going, more closer to the indigenous people and that kind of thing, or are we trying to stick closer to what the kids actually see when they watch the film? They don't look like the film. And I will say that the chief with the headdress and everything, that is a source of pride for those tribes and individual, people and everything. There is if any of you ever get to go at Big Cedar Lodge in Branson, Missouri, there is the largest artifact museum. Really, it's a privately owned museum, and oh my goodness, the displays of all the different headdresses, it's amazing, and they all have different meanings behind them. So if you ever get to go to see that, it's a wonderful little side trip to do. But yes, I feel like that's one change that I would put back is Big Chief.
Yeah, no, I get that. And Desi, thoughts?
I rode the Superior Peter Pan ride when I was in Tokyo.
Wow, look who's flexing Tokyo now. We'll just call her Tokyo Desi instead of Disney Desi.
And it was amazing, and it makes me not care at all about our version of Peter Pan here, what they do with it. In Tokyo, I thought that what they did was tasteful. They kind of go by the encampment and you see them mostly in shadow. So,
Mm.
you know, you can tell that Tiger Lily is there. You can tell that people from the movie are there, but you don't see them actually. So I thought that that was a good middle ground between the people who are like, you know, the movie was racist, and the people who are saying like, well, but those were the characters that were actually in the movie. So it was a good way to do it. I thought that, you know, kept the characters from the movie, but they're not necessarily front and center. Can anyone hear me?
No, of course.
Okay.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I think that's one of those things where, you know, I mean, I've seen some people online that are, you know, Native Americans are very excited about the change. I get what you're saying, Stephanie, too. And and Neko pointed this out in chat, is that Tom said, you know, somebody had said, well, this isn't what America really was. And then he's like, are they in America? They're in Neverland. They're not in America. They're in a fictitious place called Neverland. And were they actually American, like Native Americans, or were, you know, how did they get there? And we're not really sure. So, you know, we have a lot of questions about that, but I think in general, I feel like they you know, it thematically fits the rest of the ride. That's another thing too, is like, I get what you're saying, Stephanie, but like, I feel like it fits from the look, and I think they took some care in doing that, which I think is a good thing. But again, I feel like anything is up for change. I think there's a song in there that's probably more offensive than anything that they have in the attraction. So, and that's still on there because, you know, it is what it is. Let's move on to pass holder perks. And one of the things is they've released a magnet. Usually when they release a magnet, I like to immediately book a plane and fly down there and get my magnet, because I don't want to miss out on it. But Ashton, did you run over and grab this this Lion King magnet?
I did not. I was not the one that morning, but I do need to go pick it up because it is very cute. I think it's well done. I like the Stitch one more, I won't lie to you, but I think this is cute too.
I mean, you can lie to me if you want to. That's fine. You like, you know, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. So they're doing, you know, this. They're doing some stuff for pass holders, which is great. But they're also doing them Lion King themed for the 30th anniversary of the Lion King, which I feel like has been going on for 2 years now. I'm just kidding. It is the 30th anniversary of the Lion King. We have a Lion King magnet, and then they also have a Lion King pass holder exclusive drink of some sort. I feel like it's like a Dole Whip. It is a Rafiki Wild Berry and Dole Whip Orange Float, which, you know, just rolls right off the tongue. So, you know, make sure to get that if you're a pass holder. They're not handing you that for free. They're not. I still think, Desi, I don't know, I think you're of the camp that they should mail you your magnets, I think. I don't disagree with that. No?
I'm not in that camp. When have I ever been in that camp? No, because it took me 3 months to get my wrapping paper, and I've never once received a magnet in the mail. So no, I'm definitely not in the camp of getting my magnet sent to me in the mail. I want to go to the park and get it, but I don't want to have to sign away all of my rights before and, you know, jump through a ton of hoops to get a magnet either. I just want to say, stop with this animation style. This at least looks closer to the actual movie, but those eyes, I mean, can we just enough with that animation style?
They have to match. They have to match. It's like, it's, you know, it's the Mickey Mouse look from the, you know, your favorite Mickey Mouse, the Mickey Mouse shorts.
No.
Yeah,
no.
You love that.
Hashtag not my Mickey.
You love it. You can't stop talking about it. You want them to mail you your magnets, and you want them to all look like the original Mickey Mouse. I get it.
No.
Ashton, do you put them on your car, or do you punch out the white part, or do you leave it pristine?
You punch out the white part, but do not put it on your car if you live close to a Disney park, because you will not have your magnet for very long. Somebody will get a free magnet, but yeah, no, keep it on your fridge. freezer, something like that. Something on the
I
side.
always say that is like when we're there, because I do know that happens and I don't put them on my car. But when we're there, I'll my son and I'll be walking through parking lot. I'll go, oh, look, free magnets. I don't take them. I don't take them. But it's one of those where there are people who will take them, and so therefore I've had mine taken. One of the original old school, it was white oval that said A, and then had the Mickey and then P.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I
one.
had
That one's
mine
pretty
taken too.
Oh.
Taken 3. Particular set of skills. Let's end this thing. So there is a thing called the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. And don't just say food and wine. It's the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival. And it's coming very soon to an Epcot near you. And it is on 8/29 that this starts. And they've announced the menus. And guess what? I see the pickle milkshakes coming back.
Ugh.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Ashton, do you guys get to like draw straws about who has to sample what?
I wish it was draw straws. It's whatever Tom says there in that moment who's trying it. So you gotta be nice because you don't want to try the pickle milkshake. No, there's I don't want the pickle milkshake. I hope it's not on the list this year. We did it last year, so I think I'm safe. I'm
Yeah,
gonna keep
exactly.
my fingers crossed.
I will say, whoever reviewed the pickle milkshake last year, shame on you. You gave it a good review, and therefore I tried it, and it was, number one, disgusting, and number two, a waste of money because I didn't get to drink the whole thing. My son insisted on buying it because he likes the silly crocodile, and the silly crocodile's favorite ice cream is pickle ice cream. So he's like, yes, pickle ice cream, and we tried it. No. I do like the cute cup that comes with it, though.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but it's not worth it.
Yeah, you got the free cup. I don't know what you're complaining about. That's really weird. You know what my favorite thing was last time, and I want to get everybody's favorites, and then we'll bolt out of here. But my favorite last time was and I think it's been there a couple times, is the fry flight. I love that. Like that one is great. I think I asked them to leave some of the sauce off of one of them. But yeah, the French fry flight I think is a good value, and it always tastes. It's a good mix of stuff. Stephanie, what's your favorite from this menu?
Well, I like and I can't. It just left my head. The booth that's like the flames. What's the name of it? Someone help me.
Flavors from Fire.
Yes, that. I like the beef or whatever it was. I skewer or something. Anyway, that's the one I got last time, and I really loved. So hopefully that comes back this year.
Yeah, Flavors from Fire. Yeah.
Flavors from Fire.
Yeah, Ashton, any of this that pop out for you?
My favorite is always going to be the Canada booth. Everything on that menu is wonderful. This year, I'm actually excited to try one of their new options at World Showcase. They have a liquid nitrogen frozen sweet potato mousse. It sounds delicious, and it sounds perfect for this time of year. So, let's go.
Okay. And Desi, I feel like you get a little bit. You remember like the first time I thought we were going to meet up, and I was like, where are you? And you're like, I'm at the Hawaii Pavilion. I went over to the Hawaii Pavilion, and then you were like halfway across the park, and you're like, why are you asking? I'm like, because I'm here and I'm trying to find you. She's like,
you didn't say that you were here. You just were like, hey, are you enjoying the Food and Wine Festival? What are you up to? And here's where I am. This is what I'm trying. There was no, and I'm here, so let's meet up. I thought you were just curious about my day.
Yeah, I know. I usually just drop into your day to see how you're doing. Anything that stands out for you as good?
I mean, last year I hated the pickle milkshake, but I did like the peanut butter and jelly wings that were from the same location. I also liked the truffle mac and cheese. I think that's back as well. I know that when I looked at the menu, there were some things that I was like, ooh, that sounds good. There was maybe like a beef bun from Korea or something that sounded like it was going to be good. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there does seem like there's a lot of new things that will be good this year.
Okay. Yeah, I used to be that that the Flower and Garden was my favorite, and then Food and Wine became my favorite, and then Festival of Holidays became my favorite, and now it is the Festival of the Arts. So basically, what I'm saying is I like them all. Um, I was hearing somebody say, "Thank goodness that all of the Pixar Fest booths were out of DCA because there's no room for them." But when there's not a festival at Epcot, to me, it feels empty because I feel like you walk through and it's like crickets. It's like, wait, isn't there supposed to be a huge line over here for Italian food that most people hate? Isn't that supposed to be right over here? I feel like, and there's a lot of things that I think we've been ramping up to for this one because they've got the they got that new festival center, they got that Communicore Hall just waiting to be awesome. So we hope that that will be awesome because it's been a little bland up till now. So hopefully there'll be some good stuff there. And then they've got that new permanent space that's over by the Imagination that they've put out there. So it looks like they've really prepped this park to be a festival park that it's always been, but maybe a little bit more so you can sit in a chair and eat and not eat on top of a trash can. And, let's hope that that's what happens. But before we go, I do want to say that we did a show again, like I mentioned last Wednesday night. There was a studio panels review from D23, and we went through all of the announcements that were made about from the different studios, all the movies that are coming out that will eventually be on Disney Plus, and then all the Disney Plus shows. It was a lot of fun to do that, so hopefully you guys will catch that. That's on this channel as well. We want to give a shout out to our WIGs, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. We love our WIGs. Thank you guys so much for being part of our Patreon program. If you want to learn more about that, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Also, speaking of Deep in the Plus, we have the Aristocats coming up this Wednesday, and then the next Wednesday, oh boy, Stephanie, Desi, I hope you guys are ready. I hope you've watched all 22 episodes of Once Upon a Time season 1, because you two and Patrick and I will be talking about that came up because of Descendants. We were like, you know what? Remember that show? We should watch that show. 22 episodes, 1 hour long. Buckle up. Anyway, and again, I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. Ashton, I hope everything went okay for you. We need to get Jonathan on some tech about the amping up your voice on that. But other than that, we'll start the showcase of one new Ashton background piece every time she's on. And we'll get through that whole set probably by the time Avatar Land's open in California. So that'll be cool.
Give or take.
And again, we've been off and on, but not as much as some shows. But we've been off and on a little bit here and there. But we're going to be on a strong run for ParksCenter. So please join us every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Usually for a 60-minute episode. This was a little bit extra innings tonight, and then join us for Deep in the Plus on Wednesday nights at 9, ParksCenter Sunday nights at 9. Thank you guys so much. And if you're a WIGS member, hang on. We're going to try to pull off a post show after this, but it should work. It's fine. It should work. So stay tuned, and everybody else, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Where was everybody?
Well, Desi doesn't sing, and Ashton didn't know, so that's what happened there. So yeah. All right.
Sorry.
So let me see if we can figure this out.